Mr. Good afternoon, Mr. and Madam audience and my fellow debaters. My name is Carly Such, representing Life Skills Academy. The topic for our debate today is the RMI minimum wage truly a living wage? The true meaning of living wage is the minimum income necessary for a worker to meet their basic needs. With the affirmative team defining the topic as minimum income necessary for a worker to meet their basic needs. With the affirmative team believe that this statement is true. The RMI minimum wage is truly a living wage. Today, as first speaker, I will be talking to you about why we believe that the RMI minimum wage is truly a living wage. It qualifies to a living wage because of the following terms and conditions. Number one, financial support. The minimum wage builds a standard level towards worker, sustaining a cover to the crucial necessities. Number two, basic compensation. This advances the quality of setting numerous individuals to get a job, serving as a base for stabilizing their gradual financial development. Number three, opportunity to certain population. This offers an ideal lift to workers from poverty, engaging them to monetary safety and a reduction on preceding economic threats. Number four, promotion of fair employment conditions. The minimum wage sets an acceptable regulation where workers experience the strike of appropriate compensation, circumventing exploitative operation and building an incredible circulation within the labor market. Number five, allocation of capital within the country. The minimum wage establishes a reasonable support towards increasing more slots to upcoming workers. A lower wage paves way to a broader population and simultaneously scoring the government allocation of funds gathered from taxes, thus providing opportunities to numerous self-researching individuals. The RMI minimum wage qualifies to a living wage. Increasing the wage would be impossible for the country's current state, as it is directly proportional to taxation. If the government mandates an increase and negates the broader scope of the country's issue, a minimum wage can have potential effect on the RMI's economy. It may direct the economy on the break of an edge where job losses and negative impact in small businesses persistently occur. This idea perfectly pertains a stress in balancing the economic states. Actually, according to an American economist, Thomas Wall, he stated that unfortunately the real minimum wage is always zero, regardless of the laws, and that is the wage that many workers receive.
Time is up.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll now move to the first speaker from Co-op, doing the first constructive. We have 3 minutes to present your case, and time starts now.
Good afternoon, esteemed judges, audience, and respected opponents. It's nice to see you in the finals with us, and to my fellow debaters that have been with me since the start. My name is Ratakan Zebedee, and my teammates are Ida Underwood and Rosa Ben, and we are here to represent Medro Cooperative High School. We stand before you today in agreement of the resolution that the minimum wage in the RMI is not a livable wage. And I repeat, it is not a livable wage. After discussing the minimum wage in the RMI, we invite you to consider our point of view on the topic. My teammates and I will offer 3 main points in support of our position. Our first main point would be the high expenses of basic living necessities in the RMI. Our second argument is based on the factors regarding the inflation rate. And finally, our third reason is the poverty rate in the RMI. In analyzing the RMI's economic context, it is crucial to take account the unique circumstances that shape the country's labor market and cost of living. While the current minimum wage in RMI stands at approximately $3 per hour, when we talk about the cost of living in RMI, it is important to note that it's quite high. For example, the average monthly rent for one-bedroom apartment in the capital city of Medro is around $800. There's a big chunk. That's a big chunk of someone's monthly income if they're earning the minimum wage of $3 per hour. And it's not just housing costs that are high. Groceries, transportation, and health expenses can also be pretty steep, making even more challenging for individuals to cover their basic needs. The cost of living in the Marshall Islands is significantly high due to factors such as geographic isolation, limited resources, and reliance on imports. To elaborate more on our first point, we need to take into account the economic situation in the RMI. The recent study of the Marshall Islands Ministry of Finance and Economics Development found that the average monthly expenses for housing, food, healthcare, and other essentials exceed the current minimum wage by a substantial margin, making it challenging for workers to afford basic necessities. The country relies heavily on external aid and has a small economy, which can limit job opportunities and lead to lower wages overall, with limited employment options.
Time is up.
Thank you for listening.
The next section is the crossfire, where the first speakers will be cross-examining each other with alternating questions, and they have 2 minutes to do so, and those 2 minutes start now.
So, as you mentioned, can you elevate more on why you said that it's not a living wage?
I wanted to elaborate this because for you because it is not a living wage. The minimum wage is not a living wage. Even though it's $3 per hour, it is not a living wage. But I have a question for you. What evidence do you suggest that the workers make 50% less than the amount they need to survive?
Can you come again, please?
Oh. If you say that we're not struggling, why do you think we rely on the U.S.?
The reason why I said that we're not struggling is because these U.S. dollars, they're for us to make a living. It's because if we increase our salary, some small business, as I mentioned, small businesses can be taken down because of the increased salary. So for an example, if I use, I use me and you. We work at a same store, right? And it's a small company. And I demanded an increase. So for that increase, you will have to lose your job to give me the increase. So it's either leave it or take it. And you also mentioned that it's $80 monthly payment for apartment. Did I say it correctly?
It is around $800, which
$800.
is very high for a
So
living
are you
expenses.
talking about Marshalleys? Because technically, I think all Marshalleys around Melloro owns a house. And I think it's only the people that are working for, like, that coming from other places to teach and other stuff. I think that's the only people that owns and they are having apartment.
Yes, you are.
We'll now move on to the second constructive argument, starting with LSA, the second speaker. You have 3 minutes, to which your time starts now.
Good afternoon, sir and madam judges, audience, and my fellow debaters. My name is Felicity Kandabu, and I'm representative Life Skill Academy. My teammates and I strongly believe that this statement is true. The topic for our debates today is the RMI minimum wage truly a living wage. Living wage is defined as the minimum income necessary for a worker to meet their basic needs. Today, I will talk about our appointments. The first point is people are too way smart to handle their challenges. The second point is in a house, they always 6 to 10 people who live in it. So 3 to 5 can work and they can still have money to get whatever their family needs and want, and they can still survive. My third point is no matter our salary here in the workplace, it is the minimum we still can survive. If we think that this is not enough what we need, so we are totally wrong. We still make both ends meet, as what we can observe to the multitude of people in the Marshall Islands. My next point is I strongly believe the RMI minimum wage is truly a living wage because some families can afford what the family needs and wants. Some families say they can still survive in the upcoming payment. Like we absolutely know that in a 2 weeks times get 50 to 700 salary in a 2-week times. As I mentioned from the above, the most families receive $360 to $700 per 2 weeks, so they can manage to meet their both ends meet. In addition, looking abroad to a broad perspective, minimum wage, like we will have potential effects against economy. It may direct the economy on the brink of an edge where job losses and negative impacts in the small business occurs. This idea perfectly pretends stress in balancing the economic state. We must not argue for a personal stake here, but for the general stake. In conclusion, the RMI minimum wage qualified to a living wage because the working class of people can still make a living out of it, and increasing the wages is impossible for the current state for the minimum wage directly proportional to a taxation. I strongly believe that the RMI minimum wage is truly a living wage. Thank you for your time.
We'll now move on to co-op for their second constructive argument and their second speaker. You have 3 minutes and your time starts now.
Greetings, audience, esteemed judges, and fellow debaters. My name is Ida Underwood, and I stand before you today as the second speaker of the negative side to shed light on the pressing issue at hand. Is the minimum wage in the RMI a living wage? With the utmost respect for the gravity of the matter at hand, I would like to continue on where our first speaker left off and delve into the complexities surrounding the minimum wage in the RMI. By examining the economic landscape and considering the various factors at play, we can gain a deeper understanding of why the current minimum wage isn't considered a living wage. For starters, inflation and poverty rate. To back this up, let's take a look at the inflation rate in the RMI. Over the past decade, the average annual inflation rate has been around 1.6%. This means that prices for goods and services have been gradually increasing over time. As the cost of living rises, the purchasing power of the minimum wage decreases, making it harder for people to make ends meet. Now let's consider the poverty rate in the RMI. According to the Asian Development Bank, around 30% of the population in the RMI lives below the national poverty line. This suggests that a significant portion of the population is unable to meet their basic needs and maintain a decent standard of living with just the minimum wage. Healthcare costs. Another factor to consider is the healthcare in the Marshall Islands. I believe we all know that there's high rates of non-communicable diseases like heart diseases, diabetes, and much more. In fact, we're one, or if not, the unhealthiest countries with the highest rates of diseases. Why do you think there's such a high rate of these illnesses? Obviously, one of the main reasons is that they don't get paid enough to afford daily medical checkups or purchase anything that helps them with their health. For example, bananas cost around $3 per pound, which consists of 2 to 3 bananas. If I were to feed a family of 3 children, these 2 bananas can be eaten within minutes. This amounts to the cost of other things such as tomatoes, grapes, mangoes, which all provide needed vitamins for a human to fulfill their basic nutritious needs. Considering all these factors, it becomes clear that while the minimum wage in the RMI provides some income, it may not be enough to meet the needs of individuals and sustain a decent standard of living. The high cost of living, inflation, and poverty rates.
Time is
together-
up.
Thank you for listening.
We'll now move to crossfire between. We'll now move to crossfire between the speaker number 2, which is alternating questions between them, and you have 2 minutes, and your time starts now.
Why makes you say that RMI minimum wage is not truly a living wage? Can you elaborate more on that?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Why makes you say that RMI minimum wage is not truly a living wage? Can you elaborate more on that?
As I stated earlier, there's inflation and poverty rate. The inflation has been rising and it's around 1.6%. And people did research and they found out that in the Marshall Islands, 30% of citizens are living below the national poverty rate.
So, as you mentioned before, you mentioned about diabetes. Do you have evidence for that?
No, but it is well known that diabetes is one of the major illnesses here in the Marshall Islands.
So, can you provide the evidence for that? Because you say in the RMI.
Isn't it common knowledge, general knowledge? And what do you think the RMI is considered one of the most unhealthiest countries?
Sorry, can you come again, please?
Why do you think the RMI is considered one of the most unhealthiest countries?
Sorry, I didn't mention about that.
No, but why do you think? It's because of low minimum wage.
The reason we say is, RMI is a truly a living wage because people are too way smart to handle the challenges. If they are not enough.
Time is up. We'll now take 1 minute. Everyone catch their breath. Take a deep breath. Relax. Buon buonato. And your 1 minute starts now.
You will be on the conclusion. What is your conclusion?
Okay. We'll now move to our summaries, starting with LSA. First speaker, you have 2 minutes to provide your summary, and your time starts now.
In conclusion, we believe that the minimum wage is a truly living wage because it satisfies the true meaning of a living wage. It is an income necessary for a worker to meet their basic needs. I would like to stress what the American economist Thomas Wells said, that the minimum wage is always zero, because actually if the man is unemployed, he gets zero. The moment he is a member of a labor force, the moment he gets paid, no matter how small it is, he still make a living out of it. And that is a living wage. In addition, getting above minimum wage pay does not guarantee getting out of poverty. We have to think of the impact of the increase of the minimum wage to the country. Not only because it is pleasing to the people, it is good, but we should think of the impact of this to the economic. We should always remember that the first lesson of economics is scarcity. There is never enough of anything to fully sacrifice those all who wants it. So we believe that the minimum wage of the RMI qualifies to a living wage. Thank you for your time.
We'll now move to co-op for their summary from the first speaker, and you have 2 minutes, and your time starts now.
Thank you for listening to us share our point of view, esteemed judges, and respected opponents. We as Co-op High School would like to summarize our main points once again to reinstate the idea that the minimum wage in the Republic of the Marshall Islands is not a livable wage. With these 3 main points, we have gone through the fact that living expenses in the RMI are quite high, and the current minimum wage does not fulfill the living expenses of the people. This includes foreigners and native Marshallese. We also have gone through the poverty and inflation rates in the Marshall Islands and how the minimum wage is not one, or if not, the main reason why these problems are occurring. And finally, we have presented the argument of high healthcare costs in the Marshall Islands. And with all that being said, we still strongly believe that the low minimum wage in the Marshall Islands majorly contributes to all of these challenges. For example, for the high healthcare costs, there's too many things to do for checkups, daily checkups, and also illnesses, like my partner said, like with diabetes. But that is all I have to say. Thank you.
We will now begin our grand crossfire round, which is all members participating in alternating questions. And you have 3 minutes, and your time starts now.
One question I would like to ask is, what do you think are some potential economic challenges that businesses in the RMI may face in response to higher minimum wages?
So technically, the reason why we said that each business, it's because if a business hire more employees, if more employees are looking for jobs, with the increase, I guarantee that a business wouldn't hire more employees with the high salary, because they're barely making enough out of it, because they have stuff imported from other places. Businesses will increase more of their prices if we increase our salary.
Okay, but do you have existing evidence to prove that raising the minimum wage could lead to job losses and reduced hiring in the RMI?
Sorry, can you come again?
Do you have existing evidence that proves your statement that it'll lead to job losses?
Yeah, because technically, for an example, I'm just setting an example.
No, I mean statistical
You
evidence.
need evidence?
Yeah, I don't need an example. I get your point. I meant evidence.
Sorry, we don't have any evidence for that, but I'm just stating an example. And you mentioned healthcare. What's with healthcare?
Healthcare such as medical bills, paying for medication, checkups.
The reason why we're paying for these stuff in the hospital is because we don't get free medication from other places. The money that we give it to the hospital for healthcare, it's like a donation. Think of it as a donation. You're giving the money for them to buy medication to bring to our Marshall Islands. Yeah.
Okay, but us citizens or patients, we're still paying for it.
Huh? Sorry, can
Yeah,
you come
but
again?
we're still paying for it. Even if we're helping donate to the hospital so they can buy more medication, we're still paying.
We're still paying because we don't, in the RMI, we have more than 1,000 people.
Yeah,
so we don't
but
have all the medication that we need.
What
So
about
that's
the
why we
people with-
pay, that's why we have to pay when we enter the hospital. It's for donation to get more stuff.
But don't you believe that most things, medical bills and everything, are expensive? And how will people with low minimum wages survive?
We have, in the RMI, we still can survive through 2 weeks.
Time is up. Everybody relax, take a deep breath. We'll give you a minute to recover. Okay, entering into our final. We have the final focus. Up first is LSA, the second speaker, and you have 2 minutes starting now.
Once again, a very good afternoon to the madam, sir, judges, audience, and my fellow debaters. As the first speaker and I mentioned earlier that the people in the Marshall Islands are way too smart to handle their challenges, and they can budget their salary to buy food and make both ends meet. They even save the half of the salary to pay for other expenses. If we think that we cannot handle things by our own, well, we are totally wrong. The cost of commodities is high, but we can still stretch our budget to make both ends meet. As our first speaker mentioned earlier, RMI minimum wage is truly a living wage because it is directly proportional to taxations. It's built a standard level towards workers to sustain their necessities and set a lot of people to get a job. Furthermore, it gives opportunity for a lot of workers to believe upcoming workers and paves way to broad populations scores the government allocations of funds, which means providing opportunity for a lot of job seekers. With the present economic conditions of the Marshall Islands, the RMI minimum wage qualifies to a living wage. In conclusion, our teammate believe that RMI minimum wage is truly a living wage. Thank you for your time.
And who have the last say on the matter, we'll have co-op doing their final focus. You have 2 minutes starting now.
Greetings once again, audience, esteemed judges, and debaters. We still strongly believe that the minimum wage is truly a living wage for the following reasons. High living expenses such as rent, transportation, groceries, cash power, tuition, medical bills. Inflation being at 1.6% and poverty rate at 30%, and healthcare costs being expensive. We continue to stand by our position because the opposing team couldn't provide statistical evidence when we asked for it to be back up and claims to back up the claims they were making. Thank you for listening.
That wraps up our finale of the debate while the judges take score. We want to congratulate both teams and everybody. Give them a big kaboom up.